Hey guys, I'm Randall.
I'm Michelle.
We took a little trip down to Key West to celebrate our 5 years that we've been married. And on the way back, I decided to throw in a little side quest. And I reached out to my friend David and I said, hey David,
They're good.
what's some of the things I should be doing down in Miami? He goes, well, I don't really know any of the nurseries since I haven't lived down there in a couple of years, but you got to go check out the Fruit and Spice Park. All right, we just arrived. We are in Homestead, Florida at the Fruit and Spice Park. I'd never heard of it. I was down here and I said, hey David, what places should I visit while I'm down here? He goes, Fruit and Spice Park. So here we are, we're gonna check it out. We're gonna bring you along. This is something I'm not very familiar with. I am not very familiar with tropical fruits because I've never lived in tropic climates before. And so I expect that there's gonna be some fruits here that I've never heard of. Now, the rules of the park is you can sample the fruit as long as it's laying on the ground, but you're not supposed to pick from the trees. They do have a trolley tour. We're going to try to get on that trolley tour and get a little guidance around the park, and then we'll go from there. We'll see you on the inside. But when we got there, we were pleasantly surprised at how well the park was kept, like a botanical garden.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah,
So,
I was very surprised. So.
Yeah, Michelle's kind of hurting in her hip, and she was kind of reluctant to go.
But they have that tram that you can get on. And
all right, so the park has a little tractor with trailers, and you can get on there. And the next one is in about 5 minutes. We're going to get on there, and we're going to do a tram tour of the park. There's about 40 acres here and over 500 varieties of edibles. Let's see what this is.
It's sapote. It gets ready when it's soft and it tastes like pumpkin and sweet potato mixture.
Oh wow.
It's really good fruit, but they're not ready yet. Normally they start like the middle of February.
Okay. Mame sapote. I've heard of them. I've never seen one. Never seen the fruit.
so that made it, wonderful until she accidentally came across a snake and we had to get off the tram and walk. But outside of that, riding it through the greenhouse and yeah, so I'll let you.
Yeah, so we got on the tractor and she pulled off and we just went right across the little open grassy area there, right into where the bananas were at. And then we got off there and we walked over to see the jaboticaba tree that they had there. Nice big tree. The weird thing about the jaboticaba tree is it's like grows scuppernongs. They call them grapes.
They are
but to
wonderful.
me, they taste like a scuppernong
Yeah,
right on the bark of the tree.
Never had one before.
It doesn't even grow out in clusters hanging off the end of the branches, but like right on the stalk of the tree is where these things grow. And yeah, it was pretty good.
And Michelle wants to try to grab one, put it in a pot and grow it in the house. I said, well, they'll grow here because
Yeah, grow it in a greenhouse.
in a greenhouse, yeah. Because David has one in his house that's growing in a pot. So yeah, we could do them here. They just won't survive the cold.
Right.
So we got to see that. And in the tour, the lady didn't want her face to be showed. So we agreed to just not show her face. But she said it was okay to clip in her voice during. So you're going to see clips of her talking, but not actually her face.
Right. That made the editing kind of difficult. So, because she said that sort of midway through it.
So the park was founded in 1944 by a woman named Mary Heinlein. Back then in the 40s, this area was just starting to be developed for agriculture, and farmers were trying to decide what to grow here. There's like there are some edible natives, things that naturally grow here, such as pond apple, but that kind of tastes like pond water, so they didn't really want to grow that to sell. So they had to look for exotics, plants that don't naturally grow here. And I'm trying to see if we can find some jaboticaba to sample.
So she did say that the park was founded by a lady named Mary Heinlein in 1944. There are over 500 edibles in this park. And when they take you on the tram tour, they're only going to show you a handful of stuff. They show you maybe 15.
There wasn't that many that were in season whenever we went, and this is January, and we're talking about tropicals, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she showed you about 15 different plants, but there was starfruit was in season,
It
jaboticaba.
was great. I wasn't expecting it to be good because I don't like mango, but.
And yeah,
Or
you really don't like tropicals is what
Right.
she's saying. She
Yeah.
doesn't like tropical fruit, so she didn't have high hopes for starfruit.
But it was great.
It was.
I was
Matter of
excited.
fact, after that tour, when we got over to NASA, we went and visited a nursery, and they had a starfruit. We bought it and brought it home. So we're going to put it in a pot and see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
If you can keep them small, they can grow in a pot. You maybe will get some fruit off of that. We left the jaboticaba and went right over to what they call a cannonball tree. She kind of talked a little bit about the cannonball tree. It's not really an edible, but it was in the park and it has these nice big fruits. They said the natives of that country, they would eat some of it, but it really wasn't that good. She showed us all these monstera that they had, and the monstera is edible, but you have to eat it when it's exactly ripe, or it's like eating fiberglass in your mouth. And I wouldn't want to take that risk. So we got back on the tram, and then we go into this big greenhouse, like a tunnel type of thing. And we stopped in there. She showed us the cacao plants where they grow.
Cacao! Just fun to say.
So where chocolate comes from.
Yeah.
And they had their really cold sensitive stuff in there. And they'd actually had some cold weather from that big freeze that we had sweep across the country. It got cold down in Miami to where they had another plant in there called the South American sapote, and it lost all of its leaves, even in the greenhouse when it just had that cooling off period. So very sensitive to cold weather plants was in that greenhouse.
Yeah.
They had a guanana tree in there, and guanana goes into a lot of our caffeine beverages. And
That's fun to say too.
It produces a fruit that looks like an ackee, kind of, if you know what that looks like. It's a red fruit, and this one's about the size of your pinky nail, and it has 5 times the amount of caffeine than coffee. It's called guarana. Can you guys say guarana?
Guarana.
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 Fun to say. And you'll see this in ingredients for our energy drinks, pre-workouts, and things like that.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. I don't know if they have any. Yes. Okay. You can see it here if you wanted to. This little tiny fruit there. Might have to go to the other side. Yep, right there.
Okay.
Little bitty fella.
Yeah.
Super tiny.
I've never heard it pronounced, but I always see it on a can, and it looks like guano. I always think bat guano.
Right.
But no, it's guanana, and it's very
Guanana.
high in caffeine, and they were growing some of that on a vine in that greenhouse also.
Yeah.
So we got back on the tram, and we went on just outside there, and she pulled over and parked not too much further up, and she showed a mamame sapote, olosapo, which tastes like butterscotch.
Yeah.
It wasn't in season,
Right.
but
She said it was. It has a pickled look, like green prickly outside to it,
yeah, very warty type skin,
Yeah.
like a toad skin
like
or
a
something.
toad. Yeah. And you cut it open, and it tastes like butterscotch.
Well, Michelle says she's got to have
Gotta
one.
have it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, olosapo is what that was. Right next to that was a cinnamon apple. It looks like cinnamon apple, but it doesn't taste like a cinnamon apple.
Well, it's a little round fruit, and then whenever you cut it open, it looks like an apple that's been treated or whatever, jarred in cinnamon.
And cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said it tastes like a granola cookies.
Granola cookies.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And I have already said we're going back in a different part of the season, see if we can catch some of this stuff ripe, maybe in the middle of summer.
Yeah. Or at the end of summer or something.
I'll tell you what, if I lived within driving distance of that place, I'd
Right.
have a yearly membership, and I would just be going like every weekend trying to get a sample of everything.
It's definitely, and I'm not real. I mean, I'm starting to become a plant person because I'm a pescatarian, but I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't, you hear of nurseries and out in a park, and I was not expecting it to, number one, to be so big. It was actually really big.
40 acres.
Yeah, and then there was a pond in there, and there's iguanas everywhere, and it was just really, it was beautiful.
Very well put together. It
Like
was
a
put
little small
together.
paradise right there in Homestead,
It
Florida.
kind of reminded me of going down to Mobile to
Busch Garden?
Bellingrath
Bellingrath.
Gardens. It was laid out like a botanical garden,
yeah.
but it's all edibles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really nice.
So we went on around and we saw some all the different palms. Man, they must have had palms from every species of palm that was in Florida. They probably had at this park.
So pretty too.
She showed a palm that is a substitute for ivory. Instead of killing elephants and taking their tusk for the ivory, they have a
Right.
palm fruit that they can carve
That's right.
ivory out of. That would be interesting to have.
Yeah.
I don't think it grows here though, but that'd be neat.
Is the gingerbread palm. You can see the seeds of the palm. Inside those seeds is a substance called vegetable ivory. So, classic ivory is harvested from elephant's tusks, rhino horns. It's connected to a lot of cruelty with animals. And so this vegetable ivory is cruelty-free, vegan, and it's this white hard substance that's used to make jewelry and ornaments.
Palm, they showed us the palm that they make palm oil out of. So
And what is that called?
it was a palm oil tree.
Something, there was a name for it, but yeah.
If it is, Michelle will clip it in. What else? Showed us all these little different pineapples that there were scattered all throughout the flower beds, all throughout the park.
And they use the pineapples as like an ornamental type decoration around the rocks and whatnot. Kind of looks like little bushes.
Yeah, not all of them grow the big edible pineapples. So these are edible, but they're like smaller decorative type stuff.
Yeah.
We saw dragon fruit. We saw passion fruit. What else? There was another one. Rolina, eat it as soon as you cut it, and it tastes like lemon meringue pie,
I gotta have one of those too.
and it melts as soon as you cut it. It's a nice big fruit like this. It's prickly, kind of like reminds you of a dragon.
So she said whenever you cut it on your cutting board, don't walk away and leave it, because when you come back it'll be like melty goo. So you have to literally cut it and eat it right then.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They don't understand why, but
Or at least she says she didn't understand why.
right, she doesn't understand why, but she just said that's what you do.
Yeah, we went on around the park. We saw the African sausage fruit.
Which is
Big long pods are just hanging from these trees on long.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yeah, it was ugly, but it was kind of neat.
And they use it for bandaging because it's got like a sticky, gooey. So I guess in Africa, if you cut yourself, you can use that sausage fruit to, bond your skin back together.
Went on around and saw the
May
baobab
need
trees.
One of those for you.
Yeah, I'm always needing a Band-Aid for something. So we went around the corner and they had some baobab trees, some smaller trees, younger trees, but they were still big.
Yeah.
And they explained that in Africa, during dry season, the elephants will bury their tusk inside these trees and pop them, and they'll drink the water inside the trees to help them get through a dry period.
That's beautiful.
So they're just loaded with water.
Yeah.
These are actually small and young baobabs. They're only about 40 years old. There are some baobabs in Africa that are over 2,000 years old, and they are huge. Think about as if, that you see this border where all of the baobab trees are kind of collected. Imagine that was all one tree, just one giant tree. They get huge. Now the really big trunks that you see, they hold water. The plant stores a lot of water in their inner bark, and elephants actually know this instinctively. So during times of really bad droughts, the elephants will burrow their tusks into the trunk of the tree and get to that inner bark, and they eat the inner bark, and it hydrates them. It prevents them from dying of thirst in droughts.
Yep. Went on around to another greenhouse. Inside the greenhouse, they had these variegated bananas, lemongrass, breadfruit trees, and they said they haven't been able to get the breadfruit trees to fruit yet. Now the breadfruit trees that they had down in the Keys, they were fruiting because they're a little more tropical down in the Keys than they are up in Miami. So up in Miami, they were still having a hard time with the breadfruit trees. But nice big trees inside of a nice big greenhouse. And they had papayas in there and some other stuff. All right, so leaving there, we went on out and I had to stop the tractor for the snake getting in the tire treads. And then we were just going to walk right on back. It's just a little short walk right back to the where the starting point was. And we went by a bay rum plant. I've never heard of a bay rum plant, but this is the plant that they make Old Spice cologne out of. And it smelled really good.
Yeah.
And people use it for bookmarks.
Right.
And,
it smelled wonderful.
yeah, it was good. I wish I could grow it. We could get it and put it in a pot and grow it.
Yeah, that would be nice to have it in the house. It was a pretty plant. It was nice and green.
So this makes a great bookmark, make your book smell good, or make your purse smell good if you use your purse. This is used for its fragrance purposes. It is good in Old Spice cologne. It's one of the original scents of Old Spice.
No wonder you like this.
We have an allspice tree in the
Yeah.
Well, we did have starfruit, which was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then you had something
A sapodilla.
Yeah.
A sapodilla.
that was not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. And then close out the tour, coming back to the building, right as you come out for the tour, there's a big plant there called a miracle fruit. Didn't have any miracle fruit on it, but
Maybe next year, or whenever we go back, we can, catch it whenever it's fruiting.
Miracle fruit makes sour things taste sweet. It produces a small red fruit that has a chemical called miraculin in it. It coats your taste buds and kind of confuses them for a little bit. So when sour things taste sweet, it's a really cute party trick. You'll see YouTube react videos of it. And it's nice because lemon tastes like lemonade, and the mango that you're eating is the most sweetest, most delicious mango you've ever had in your life. So it's a really fun experience, but that's not the real miracle. If you know anybody that's lost their ability to taste due to an accident, illness, long COVID even, surgery, when everything tastes like metal, it's really hard to have an appetite. So patients don't eat as much, so they don't really heal as fast. So miracle fruit will coat the taste buds for about half an hour to an hour, long enough to eat a meal, and it allows these patients to get their appetite back. So Baptist Hospital is a local hospital that has developed a miraculin melting tablet, and it's a melting tablet that doesn't go bad as fast as berries go bad, and they're prescribing it to their oncology patients. It might not be relevant information, but just in case it ever is, we want you guys to know about it. We have more info about it in the gift shop. We have info about where to get the plant, the fruit, or the melting tablets. And this is it itself. This is Mame sapodilla.
So this is
You guys
miracle
have been
fruit.
fantastic.
We had
Such a
one,
good
but we
sport
lost
for
it.
doing a walking transition tour. So thank you so much.
They
Yeah.
have a peanut butter plant. There was like a peanut butter plant or peanut butter tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what family is that from? Is that from the
I think that was sapote.
sapote?
I don't know. I'm sure you'll clip it in.
Is this section here has a peanut butter tree. So it produces it kind of looks like a really fat chili. It's like a red fruit that has like a pointed tip at the end. And you bite into it and it has the consistency and the taste of peanut butter. It's just like peanut butter. And came way before peanut butter, of course.
Ready to close it out?
Just-
All right, guys. Overall, we were very impressed. 2 thumbs up. I would definitely be going back to that park. We really didn't have plans of going back through that area again, but we're making a trip just so we can go back to that park again and experience more fruit. And we had a great time. And it's very affordable, $10 a person to get in.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to our channel. And follow along. Remember, keep growing.
Keep building.
And always keep adventuring.
adventuring.
And together, we're Farmington Famous. We'll see you next time.